Title, JJ, Part 2. Learning from adult role models who are deaf or hard of hearing, presented by Outreach Programs, the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind. The CSDB logo is displayed with the tagline, Learning, Thriving, Leading. Our presenter, JJ, is seated on a carpeted step in a reading corner of a kindergarten classroom. He is communicating in sign language with voice narration. Captions are below on screen. Title, JJ.
During my time at the deaf school, I used an FM system, and they connected to my hearing aids. The FM system would connect to my hearing aids, and I didn't like it. I felt like it was a radio. There was a lot of static and a lot of feedback. Another thing I used was a Comtech loop. It connects to sounds in the environment. It was okay. It didn't really benefit me. Hearing aids, on the other hand, did. One day I decided not to use any of the electronic devices, and I really liked it because it was quieter. I communicate with hearing peers by talking with them when I was younger, but they understood my speech pretty clear. But they were used to me growing up. Nowadays, we have video phones, video relay services, and I can make phone calls and I can call hearing people using the video service. And it connects to an interpreter, and that really benefits me a lot. My parents love it. Previously, we had the TTY relay, and it was very slow. The video phones, they're just great. I'm able to make calls from work, contacting other schools. Sometimes I use paper and pen to communicate. Sometimes I use my iPhone. I use my iPhone to text.
Title, Advice for Parents.
Often at my job, I meet many parents. And often parents will ask, how can I help my child? How can I support my child? And when I think about that question, I often look back at my own parents and what they did for me. Honest, my parents did a lot for me. They took the time to sit down with me, work with me on my reading, work with me on my writing. My parents and I would write letters back and forth to each other. Remember, I lived in the dorms growing up, so we would write letters back and forth. I would tell parents to encourage their kids to read, expose them to a variety of different things out in the world. My parents used to take me to the grocery store and teach me everything about the store. It could take 2 hours, but they took the time to communicate that with me. My sister as well. She let me know what was going on. Often, deaf people feel left out in the family situations. And I always tell parents it's very crucial to involve your child at what's going on. You don't have to interpret everything that's being said, but keeping them involved and making them feel a part of the family. Parents are a very powerful resource. They have the ability to teach their kids, to expose their kids, and treat their kids like any other kid. Let them make mistakes. Let them learn for themselves. They'll get it eventually. My mom let me make a lot of mistakes often, and she didn't jump in the middle. She allowed me to learn. My dad was the same way. He would say, you messed up, but you're learning. You figured it out for yourself. I have to give them credit for that, for allowing me to figure things out on my own.
Title, Advice for Education Professionals.
Another part of my job, I work with staff in other school districts that are working with deaf and hard of hearing students. And really, it's in the different areas of the state. We have rural areas that we support. We have big cities like Denver. I've met a lot of people and they've asked me, what do you suggest? And I suggest encouraging students' real life experience to let them know what's going on in the school. Often I tell them about my former experience in mainstream environment. I always felt left out because there was no one telling me what was going on. I'd always be curious about the information and asking everybody to share that and demanding that information from them so I could be in the loop. Fortunately, the school secretary at my high school every morning would give me a printout of the announcements so I knew what was going on. Now, today, in public school, the announcements are done on the PA system. Students are left out. If they don't have an interpreter, they have no idea what's going on. If they have an interpreter, sometimes the information can be overwhelming and they don't catch it all. It's really important to expose them. Often I encourage students to socialize with other hearing peers because that's really their future. They might work with them in the future. Often I tell schools, don't be too involved in the students. Let the students do it for themselves. It's the best way they'll learn.
Learning from adult role models who are deaf or hard of hearing has been a production of the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind, 33 North Institute Street, Colorado Springs, Colorado, 80903, 719-578-2100, www.csdb.org. Videography by Deb Branch and Sean Levier, copyright 2014.
Audio description, Jim Olson. Editing assistants, Diane Covington, Dr. Laura Douglas. Captioning, Neil Anthony Thomas, Corey McCormick. Transcription, Eleanor Vasquez.